Welcome to Lawyer Boss Life.
Welcome to Lawyer Boss Life, the podcast where law firm owners learn to build profitable businesses and lead lives they love. I'm Alay, law firm growth expert and founder of Law Firm Success Group. I've helped hundreds of attorneys scale their firms, gain freedom, and take back their time.
And I'm Chelsea. I'm a law firm owner, entrepreneur, and toddler mom. I know it's possible to make a great income, work 40 hours or less, and take lots of time off. Just got back from a vacation because that's what I do.
Today, we're talking about the mindset shift that separates those stressed out lawyers from successful law firm owners like Chelsea. It all starts with treating your firm like a business. So Chelsea, would love to hear. You just got back from a vacation. Tell us a little bit about that. How long was it? How did it go? What happened with your firm while you were away?
Yes, I was just in Maui for I think 6 days, which is usually a good amount of time for me and my family. I have a 3-year-old, and being gone longer than that sometimes can be a little chaotic. Lots of extra packing going on. But I was able to really fully take time off from essentially a Tuesday through a weekend. I checked in, maybe a total of 30 minutes to an hour a day, usually very early in the morning when I'm up anyway, and didn't have to check in with my staff the rest of the day. I have a business partner and associates that are set up to do the job when I'm not around.
Yeah, and if you're a solo and you're thinking, oh, well, she can do that because she has a team. Actually, one of my clients just got back from, I think it was a 10-day trip to Africa. And she is a solo attorney. And she actually, she checked in with her VA for a grand total of about half an hour during that time. She did not check email.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so when she got back, it was like, she was so happy. She was just beaming. We had our meeting, I think it was Wednesday, so a couple of days ago, and she was just delighted. Chelsea, why do you think that so many attorneys struggle to really run their firm like a business, even after they've already opened up their own firm?
I think because, unfortunately, starting with law school, we only learn how to be lawyers in our training, right? Depending on what your undergrad degree was or any other experience you had both before, during law school, the focus is learning the law, not building a business and running a law firm. And I really think that that is a huge disservice to young lawyers, but that's usually the skills that they're missing. Fortunately for me and my business partner, we were both business majors, and we approached opening the law firm as a business first. We knew we were going to have to learn more lawyer skills along the way. I really think that that's the big difference. It's a tool that a lot of people are missing.
Yeah, what we see a lot is we have successful attorneys who are at larger law firms and they think, oh my gosh, well, I'm giving so much of my billings to the law firm. What if I
Mhm.
just open up my own firm? That way I get to collect all of that revenue and I can be the boss. I can run my firm.
Sure.
And what they find is that now they have to wear a lot of different hats. They have to run their law firm like a business, whatever that means to them, and they really struggle. And so they end up stressed out. They're leaving money on the table. They're really not happy with many aspects of their firm, and I think it's a real crime because I'm not a lawyer, as you know, but
Mhm.
I do feel that attorneys do life changing work for the clients whom they serve, and they deserve a really good life. They deserve good income. They deserve to take good vacation. They deserve to enjoy the work they do and enjoy running their law firm. And a lot of this starts with mindset. And Chelsea, I know you're a business major, but you have seen so many attorneys who have not run their law firm as a business, and you've seen some that have,
Yep.
yourself being an example of that. Have you been able to see any differences in how business minded attorneys view their firm versus other attorneys?
Yeah, I think I'm going to start with what I've observed from some other attorneys that I feel like are not maximizing the opportunities to run a business more efficiently and gain more from it is they take on, like you said, way too much. They wear too many hats, and they think that that's going to make them more money because they're not outsourcing it. Unfortunately, what that means is you're not utilizing your time as efficiently and effectively as possible to maximize profits, right? So when Emily and I opened up, we were wearing all the hats for a short period of time because when you first open up, you got a cash flow problem sometimes. But, we opened in June, hired our first employee by August, expanded offices by that following January. And now we're at a team of 8. And we have people who do the jobs that are, for lack of a better phrase, right here, a waste of our time. They're not a good use of our time. And instead, we have been able to focus. These are the business decisions we have to make as business owners. These are the business decisions that our staff can make because they know what's going on. They're actually better suited sometimes to make some of these everyday decisions. And then here's the law, like the actual legal billable work that is worth our time. Everything else goes down to our associates. So I really think it comes from viewing your business as, hey, how can I actually give myself the freedom and the income I want? And way too many people think it's a cost-cutting approach and doing more yourself. And it's the total opposite mindset that I think you have to have. Invest in your business, put the money into your business, get a little uncomfortable with money going out the door first, and then you're going to see that switch.
Yeah. And that all happens because of having that growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to be really clear with everyone, who's listening to this. The default, the way a firm is set up, especially if you're just opening your firm, the default is going to be that you're going to want to do all the things that Chelsea is saying not to do. So you're going to want to pinch pennies. You're going to want to be very careful about expenses. You will not want to invest in your business. You will naturally want to just do the work, do the attorney work that you're great at, that you've learned how to do, that you're really comfortable doing. All this other stuff about running the firm is all out of your comfort zone. So you need to have really strong motivation to learn those skills and to change how you view your firm. That doesn't happen automatically.
No.
It is a choice, and that's where mindset comes in. And believe me, the easiest choice you can make is to shortchange yourself. It's to say, okay, I am just going to sit there and just do the work that I get and work, not spend anything, take as much money as I can, and just be a lawyer. The
Mm-hmm.
harder decision is the one that you and Emily made, Chelsea, which is to say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to establish what we want in our firm, and then we're going to go get it. And we're going to figure it out along the way. And it's going to have some ups and downs, but we know what we want, and we're not going to accept a compromise. We're going to go make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also approach it from the standpoint of we want that to happen for our employees, meaning we don't want to be the only one reaping the benefits from the business, right? That's not why we wanted to expand and have a team, right? We have a company, we have a business, we have a team of people who rely on us to take care of their families. So when I work, a 40-hour work week, when I get to go on vacation and my income increases, so does my employees. That's the point. They're not just our workhorses while we sit over here, with a big house, fancy cars, and lots of vacations. Like, that's just not the reality. And I think once you approach your business as building something that you can be proud of a little bit, right? Like, wow, I'm really doing this. I've given people these opportunities. It starts to bleed into every single decision you make on a daily basis that benefits you, on top of benefiting your happy employees.
And how would you say, Chelsea, the way that you view the practice of law and the way that you view your role in the practice of law has changed since being an employee at a family law firm to now being the owner of a successful law firm?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think how it's impacted the way that I actually approach the law is I have a much more kind of settled mindset when I'm talking to clients. I'm in family law, right? So specifically, I've got very emotional clients who are concerned about every single dollar. Their mindset right now is kind of the total opposite of my business mindset, right? They're really worried about finances a lot of the time. It's one of the most litigated issue, or it really is, like, where is the money going to go, regardless, separately from custody related issues, but is I've got to be able to see the big picture of where they're coming from. And running a business, having a family of my own that I'm supporting and worrying about everybody, multiple people's livelihood on a regular basis, I feel like I can bring that in, and the clients that I have, I think, acknowledge the fact that I'm there to provide them the highest quality service without bankrupting them while they go through the process, so they can have an advocate that they trust to get them through the process. But also that I'm going to try to turn their case over in a very systematic way. They're going to have great service along the way, understand the process. And I feel like they're getting what I'm putting out there when I actually am taking the way that I feel about my business into the specifics of how I'm practicing law. I think that they can feel that. I feel it sometimes. When I talk to clients, and I'm almost choking back tears at times. I didn't used to be that way in the early years. I was a little bit more jaded by, the profession. And I really think that that is where our business thrives, when people can actually see what we're doing.
Yeah, I always feel like treating your law firm as a business and running it as an owner makes you a better lawyer, because now it literally is your name on the door, and that has a profound impact in how you treat and serve and view your clients and your role
Yeah.
really in the field of law.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going back to, one of the things we touched on is being an employee and then now being an owner. And let's go back to the employee mindset, because
Mhm.
I think that what happens is a lot of attorneys, when they hang out their own shingle, they still kind of view themselves as an employee. And I'll give you an example of what I mean for that. They are often viewing their success or failure in terms of their paycheck. You
Yep.
know, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to, make some money and have an income. And that's an important part of it. I'm not minimizing that at all. We love it when our clients make a lot of money. But what's also important to have deeper meanings. And Chelsea, you have a really strong why, a really strong purpose personally for having your law firm be successful. And you also have a really strong purpose professionally for having your law firm be successful and to serve clients in the way that you feel
Mhm.
they ought to be served. And those are the things that are incredibly powerful. I guess the third purpose you have too that you mentioned is you have a strong purpose for your team and having
Yeah.
them be successful. And those three things together are so much more powerful than a paycheck of a certain size. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, it's important to make money and to feel great about the money you're making. And that
Yeah.
is wonderful. But just focusing on money may not be enough to get you to where you really ultimately want to go financially. Isn't that interesting?
It's really interesting. When I was working for other people, I had a, minimum billable, and then I had bonus incentives. And to be honest, right, looking back at the work I was doing, it was billable driven. It wasn't quality service driven. I was just trying to bust out the billables. It was my boss's responsibility for the quality that actually went out the door to the client, because it was their name on the wall, right? I was getting paid regardless, and I was getting my bonus regardless, right? And that sounds kind of terrible now, right? As an owner, to think that my employees would do the same. And so, I had to shift the approach of, hey, we really need to make sure that we are getting to a point where certain assignments are not taking longer than this amount of time. We have the tools and the system to turn these things around. If they're taking longer, let's talk about it. Let's brainstorm. Because at the end of the day, if the quality is not there and the billables are, cushioned in a way, not intentionally, but such that the work is having to be, redone by me, or I'm discounting the bill at the end of the day, we're not getting anywhere, and we're not getting anywhere for the client. And so, now that I've owned my own firm and I have these employees who they definitely have, billable guidelines that they're following, but we don't focus a whole lot of that. We've lowered our billable requirements and we focus on quality. We set our hourly rates where they need to be so that their work is based on the quality of that hour at the end of the day. And I believe that our employees are less stressed about it. They focus and they get more of that kind of satisfaction from doing quality work. And we point that out on a regular basis. Sometimes it's just pointed out with the team, sometimes it's an extra bonus on their paycheck. But it's really making sure that the team is focused on quality and the care of the client, because the billables will get there if you have the work to support it.
Yeah. And so I guess the question really is, it goes back to how. So if an attorney has this employee mindset, but they own their own firm, they're focused on the paycheck, they are not willing to invest in growth because they're afraid about putting out expenses, maybe expenses that are going to be a stretch for them,
Yeah.
and having that fail and not pan out, and they're uncertain about you know taking that next step and establishing a bold vision for what they want. There's a lot of fear that goes on in figuring out what it is you want, and then having I guess the opposite of fear would be courage, maybe having the courage to go out and get it, because the easiest thing to do is to say, no, that's not possible, I'm just going to stay in my comfort zone and do what I'm comfortable doing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put you in the coach's chair, Chelsea, okay?
Okay. Oh gosh.
So welcome, what are a couple of things that an attorney can do who's in that employee mindset? Now they've already opened their own firm, but what can they do to kind of change their thinking so they switch from viewing their firm as an employer or practicing attorney, if you will, to viewing their firm as a business owner?
Yeah, I think the first thing that you have to do is really make a list. And this is going to sound tedious, but write down a list of the things that a lawyer does not need to do, right? Write down the things that are not lawyer related tasks. Separate all of those things and figure out how can you maximize an employee or two to take over these things and pay them a certain amount so that you can focus on the more lawyer related issues on top of separating the task that an business owner needs to do, because you've got to be able to do a good amount of the lawyer task before you bring on your first associate, of course, but that's obviously down the road. But also the actual business decisions that you have to make. You have to have time to do those. And you can't do that if you're sending out bills, if you're ordering supplies. It just doesn't make sense. So you really need to understand what you're doing on a regular basis and try to focus on, hey, how many hours a day do I need to do this to maximize my ability to pay for an employee to do these things? That's where we started. And we were shocked by how much time we were wasting on things that other people with other qualifications and better skills could do. They simply just didn't have a law degree.
Yeah, it wasn't an overnight thing, right? You didn't say, okay, well, these are all the things that we shouldn't be doing, so we're just going to invest a bucket load of money and hire a bunch of people. You kind of hired, you did that one step at a time,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. We started with the admin task. We said, okay, we need to funnel off the admin task so we can focus on the billables, make our firm money. And then once we got an inflow of clients and we couldn't keep up with the legal work, it was like, okay, we need to bring on an associate to support this legal work because now we don't have time for the business. So it was a one step at a time. And it really happened probably quick for us. Maybe it would be quicker or a little bit slower for others. We brought on our first associate after about 9 months, and we were, we felt really, really lucky to get and this associate's still with us, by the way. We feel so lucky that she's still with us. But these are the difference. It was one step at a time. Like, don't overwhelm yourself. You can do it one step at a time. I highly recommend starting with the admin.
That is a phenomenal exercise. And if you are launching your firm and really want to take it to that next level, you're maybe a solo or you've got an admin assistant, doing this exercise is totally going to help. If you're not there yet, so
Mhm.
if you are running your firm, but you wish you could be making more money, you wish you could be taking more time off, you wish you could be working with better clients, hire us. That's half joking, half serious. But
Mhm.
seriously, it comes down to a decision. And here's an exercise you can do. It's more effective, I think, when you have a coach, someone like myself, kind of working this through with you, but you can do this totally on your own. This is an exercise that I call thinking about the future. So you get a sheet of paper, and a sheet of paper has two sides. On one side, you're going to write out one future. On another side, you're going to write out another future. So, first off, write out what's going to happen if nothing changes. Project yourself forward a long period of time. I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever's appropriate for you. Project yourself forward and think about, if you continue to go down this path, if you continue to run your firm this way, what is going to be the impact? What's it going to look like in 10 years, 20 years? Think about your finances, think about your retirement, think about your personal health and well being. Think about the quality of the relationships that you're going to have if you continue doing this way, and project that forward as far ahead as you can. Write at that out. Make it as vivid as possible. You can even do it as a letter to yourself. Okay? That'll take you probably 20 minutes or so to do. When you're done with it, flip the page over. Now, what I'd like you to do is write out what that looks like the same period of time, but now you've made changes. Now you're making the money you want to make. You're having the quality of life you want to have. And you're having the level of satisfaction that you want to have as an attorney running their own law firm. The reason you're able to do those three things is because now you're viewing your law firm as a business, because that is a critical lever to making all this come true. Write that out. Here's a hint. If you're doing it right, it should be better than the first one. Mm-hmm. So now you've got two visions of the future. You have one on one side of paper, one on the other side of the paper. And here's the thing. You get to choose which one comes true. That choice is totally up to you. So read through both of those, then decide, what do you want? And then go pursue that. Chelsea, have we gone through that exercise?
I feel like a similar version of that exercise for sure, in a shorter format, but I think we had already kind of done a good amount of that in advance, but very similar.
Awesome. Great. So as we're kind of wrapping things up here, any parting thoughts for our audience, Chelsea, that you want to share?
The main thing is you just have to remember that you don't have to do this alone. Even if you're a solo, there are both employees you can bring on, support that you can bring on, coaches that you can bring on that can help you navigate this more efficiently so you can actually start enjoying life.
Awesome. And if you're ready to lead your firm like a CEO, not a lawyer, visit lawfirmsuccessgroup.com and start your journey. And if this episode helped you, please pass it along to a lawyer who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, leave us a comment, all that typical stuff. We'd love to hear what resonated most with you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.